it does not forward their extension. So their way of, you can say, progress is this one. So rather, it is the unequal distribution of opportunities and the persistence of systems that prioritize inherited privilege, class interests, tribal loyalties, uh, religious divisions, and cultural exclusivity over merit, ability, honesty, and hard work. The theory proposes a new direction for humanity based on the integration of people through sports, education, and equal opportunity while preserving cultural and religious diversity. So cultural exclusivity, when is based on association to higher authorities over merit, ability, honesty, and hard work, the theory proposes a new direction for humanity based on the integration of people through sports, education, and equal opportunity while preserving cultural and religious diversity. So, integration of people should come through sports, right to sports, education, and equal opportunity. Then, the preservation of cultural and religious diversity could in itself be based on merit. So, merely saying that Christianity and Judaism are near to God, they are just making fool of the human beings. Next, in the interpretation and making understanding of the human beings is the concept of one world, one brain does not seek to create a single government as world power or world orders are shown through USSR or America, now in the China. It is not a right way of world to be entertained. No nation, country, state, tribe, religion, culture, or tribal mindset or convention, custom to be given a solo right, uh, right to solo flight, that they have the latest modes of trade and weapon. That's why they have the right to rule others and fool others. No. For example, five veto powers are ruling in the world with the elite executive presence around the world. They are not ruling in the world, rather they are fooling the world. So they should not be given a right to rule through making fool to others. Rather, the concept of one world, one brain does not seek to create a single government like China, like America, like Russia, like Great Britain, like France, or before colonial masters and you can say colonizations have been coming into the world, but that was process of human evolution. So the world was in state of confusion and creation of the ideas that was to a larger extent or to some extent justified, that they were in quagmire, they were in state of uh, in, in a trouble, they were in a deep trouble as to how to live in the world. So they made the institutions like kingship after prophethood. Uh, then in the present world, uh, the amalgamation of kingly and prophets. Prophets brought democracy, and kings brought you can say, dictatorship. So, but in the present world, both are, you can say, deprived of their rights to rise and shine. And democracy through feudalistic and capitalistic class is becoming the biggest tool to exploit others. So democracy is not in its full spirit. The concept of one world, one brain does not seek to create a single government in the world to give one world, one right to rule and fool others. A single religion, even a single religion, a religion is for the whole of the humanity. As Islam came at the end of the all prophet series and religion, but doesn't mean it was detached from the you can say back forces or the coming, you can say, ways of the religion, single religion. All the religions from Adam to the last religion, Islam, all promoted humanity and facilitation to the people so that they could live in peace, to worship God and then earn well. So worship God and earn in a peaceful way is the sole duty of the state and authorities to be in this matter responsible and facilitator. Instead, it seeks to create a shared global consciousness in which all human beings recognize their common interests and responsibilities. So, the concept of one world, one brain does not seek to create a single government. To let's say one government, world government, or world order to kill others or to keep rest of the world at the mercy of the single government. So a single religion, no religion, because one religion cannot be the choice of all ones. So religious teachings, preachings could be welcomed by every citizen of the world, but as a whole to be adopted, one religion is difficult. So sense of religion could be adopted by all citizens of the world, but whole the garment of the religion to be adopted by the whole of the world and its citizens is to a large extent difficult. Main thing is to give justice to the people so that they could uh, be so that they could uh, worship God and earn in a peaceful way. So state duty is the facilitation to make people peaceful minded, live in peace so that they could earn in peaceful way with security and protection so that they could then pay thanks to Almighty Allah, as it's called, you can say, worship. Merely offering prayer and worshipping God is not sufficient after killing thousands of human beings, genocide, and then you can say atrocities and suppression, oppression is extended on the human beings. It would not be a right kind of intellectuality. So the concept of one world, one brain does not seek to create a single government. This philosophy does not, you can say, needs to create a single government, a single religion, or a single culture. Variety, human beings by nature are variety liker, so they cannot be kept by force at one government to be followed, one religion to be followed, one single culture to be followed. Instead, it seeks to create a shared global consciousness. Instead, it seeks to create a shared global consciousness in which all human beings recognize their common interests and responsibilities. Rather, it advocates the idea of global consciousness, that all human beings, least at one point, live at one live through one shared value that could be called global consciousness, that all the human beings think least at one way, leaving all of their rest of the ways of thinking, but least they are agreed at one point of life, or one shared value, that education for all, independent economy, and right to family making is very necessary. Mean education for all, that makes independent economy, and then decision making also comes automatically and naturally. It seeks to create a shared global consciousness in which all human beings recognize their common interests and responsibilities, that all human beings are to go through common interests, that they are not to give and receive education to some cases, some people, and leaving majority in state of desperation and frustration without education. Their common interests and responsibilities. So giving and taking education and sharing of assets of the world at first stage is necessary until the whole world is not turned into such states that are called welfare states. It advocates, one world, one brain theory advocates for a world in which individuals are evaluated according to their talents, efforts, achievements, and moral character, rather than their social background or inherited status. So, another meritorious feature of one world, one brain theory, that it advocates the idea that individuals are evaluated through their talents, how much their efforts make involved to reach to the highest order of the life and society, and reaching to achievements and moral character, that they should, from person to person, to be morally edified and gratified, rather than uh, bulldozing away what is morality, what is effort, what is talent, rather just joining white race or joining any, you can say, insecure, uh, you can say, secure world, but no other, you can say, characteristic, but just social background or inherited status, that they should be from rich ones. Though at the formation of the states, elite classes, executive classes need to be saved at top priority, but doesn't mean other, you can say, classes need to be stopped from growing and making able to reap the fruits of the authority. So, at one end, where there is necessary that intellectual evolution came and executive classes have been based, but it does not mean the rest world to be bulldozed and taken as granted, or as trash, as rubbish kind of beings. No, human ability is the uh, boon of God given by its light of knowledge and understanding. The theory views humanity as a collective intellectual resource. Humanity as a collective intellectual resource whose potential remains largely untapped because of structural barriers and historical inequality. Got to know, understand the very point. The theory views humanity as a collective intellectual resource It is not the legacy or the privileged right of Gora Sahib, white race. So it took start from Iraq and Egyptian background, which are at the present Muslim countries, and in you can say uh, related to Muslim world. Uh, but the philosophy, the intellectual rise behind it was character and teachings and preachings of the prophets. So morality and abilities, acceptability and right to rise and faith in God all first came from the prophets' preachings. Later on, when the organized institution of earning and learning came into existence, then they left God and prophets' teachings, preachings behind, and developed atheistic kind of mind that truth should be for sake of truth, and goodness should be sake of goodness, and help should be sake of help, not for getting the grace and attention of God Almighty Allah. No. It are the later innovations and inventions of human beings. The theory views humanity as a collective intellectual resource. For example, science, idea of science uh, given by Iraqi, you can say Iraqian people, Babylonian, the oldest, you can say, civilization, way back 5 to 6,000 years ago, and concept of religion, faith, or life after death idea came from Egyptian background. Over here, I am not talking about heavenly religion, prophets and God based. That's are entirely different and above the any kind of intercession and you can say shared traits. Rather, just as far as philosophy and literature, science and social awareness and social and human based understanding and civilization and institution making, as far as is concerned, took start from Iraq and Misr, Egyptian background, and then it came to uh, Greeks land, Yunnan, uh, then you can say it came to Romans, then came to Islam in Arabian Peninsula, and then it went as a sense to Britishers and Spanish and Frenchers. Later, Britishers made East India Company the same sense of Islam and faith and general sense which took start from Iraq and Misr or Egyptian background as collective intellectual resource came through East India Company in the era of Akbar King, the great king in India in 16th century, right 16th century at the beginning of 17th century, and then World War One, Two made army and got the main force from here to defeat, you can say, Germany, Italy, Japan, and then global order came into structuring as USSR and America, and now uh, modern civilization is turning into industrialization, globalization, and screenization, mean film and plays and entertainment and media is spreading man-made information or God-made imagination of religion for human beings. That is all a collective intellectual resource whose potential remains largely untapped. Mean It's intellectual evolution that came from Babylonian and Sumerians, Iraqi and Misri societies to the Unani, then Romans, then Arabian, and then Britishers, then to the Indians, and then it flux out to the five veto powers as the nucleus of control. Now it is unipolar to multipolar control and execution, planning and execution of power and political structures. That is all you can say. But the theory views humanity as a collective intellectual resource. From Adam to the present age, human beings went through two dimensions: spiritual and material, revelative and creative. So is the same that one form of creative has reached to its puberty, reached to its prime state, that is education, progress through education is coming on. So structural barriers and historical inequalities could be only, you can say, set aside when faith in God, faith in human potential, and faith in, you can say, institutions free of corruptions to be developed. So, carrying on the idea of one world, one brain mean a unified syllabus for all the citizens of the world. One of the central assumption of this theory is that economic systems built primarily upon relationships based on religion, tribe, ethnicity, family networks, or inherited privilege, inevitability, inevitably undermine meritocracy. So, one word, one brain mean all the world need one brain made through one syllabus based on material resources, latest mode of learning and earning. All human beings must have education and independent economy through education, not through just opening of the shops and small hotels and restaurants and smaller setups, selling of fruits and vegetables and this and that. No, all ones should be given education related, you can say, certification, and they should be licensed through states and authorities that now people could apply for their right to business and job. So if some people want to open shops of the fruits and vegetables and such and such smaller jobs, smaller activities, but they would be first getting of education, certification, and then they would be getting skilled in agricultural related to fruits and crops and you can say vegetables and lands, you can say chemistry, it's fertility or to be fertile or barren or whatever, but they are to go through the certification. It doesn't mean just make investments being uneducated and rude and undisciplined and rude at behavior at selling of the items, shop items or whatever they are selling. They are having no right behavior. They are rude and they do not respect the client. They just show that they are at the business point. They made investment. No investment from individual behalf whosoever is to make investments, they are to be first get education, and then certification, then skilling, then behavioral patterning, then they are to be registered, and they're all of the income first shown in the state pockets or in state sources. They would be paying taxes, and then on return they are to be assessed. And there should be regulatory act and regulation, and each and every you can say shop to be registered, and their income should be you can say shown in the state accounts on daily grounds as a whole year. Then they should be given taxes and this and that. So no citizen to be out of the registration, out of you can say record, should be in the notice or in the so that there should be somewhat behavioral patterning and rude actions, and just we are business and clients have no value. Clients have more value than the businessman. So one of the central assumptions of this theory is that economic systems built primarily upon relationships based on religion, tribe, ethnicity, family networks, or inherited privilege inevitably undermine meritocracies. These things become group of people when these you can say relationship are based on not education and certification and economic you can say capability, just not on ability basis, rather just primarily upon relationship based on religion. We have the shared religion, shared tribe, shared ethnicity, shared family networks, or shared inherited privilege legacy. Then they ignore what is merit, what is human being. They disrespect humanity, they disrespect human beings, and they don't respect how much people or persons have gone through the hard work, and finally they made us able to rise and shine and become a recognition. They just show that we got education, but they don't think how people came through without facilitation and reached to this sense and sensibility. So when people make relationships based on religion, culture, tribal mindsets, then surely they ignore education and certification to be get. Such systems often create powerful social classes that dominate economic and political institutions for generations. As I have already mentioned, that when the relationships and contact making is based on religious, cultural, and tribal mindset associations, and will lead to economic activity and generation of wealth making, then it would create the challenges and complexes in the structures and applications of the authorities. So such systems often create powerful social classes that dominate economic and political institutions for generations. So for generations, meritorious classes come into existence. So over time, these dominant groups accumulate wealth, influence, and authority while limiting opportunities for others. In this way, ethnic and provincial, territorial, geographical, national, international, and genocidal, you can say, weapons and ways and methods and steps are brought into origination of the ideas. So theories and books are written through these ways that they just create the ideas through given ways. So ideas and books and theories, philosophies become a series of colonial control and institutional conditioning and keeping people in check and balances for their interests, vested interests. So these dominant groups accumulate wealth, influence, and authority while limiting opportunities for others. So they create adoration between the privileged one and the served ones and serving ones. This concentration of power contributes to social frustration, economic stagnation. So it stagnates and confines, you can say, to a larger uh, opportunities. Political instability, so you can say fundings come through controlled ways and through favorable ways and through some services to be given and various forms of conflict. In this way, uh, all types of conflicts and different kinds of conflicts are created through. When people are in majority ignorant and unaware and wild-minded and emotional beings, then they need not democratic forces to control them, because democracy is for educated ones and enlightened ones. So that's why in Asian and African countries, dictators and hardliners, hard, you can say, hearted and hot-tempered uh, and very selected rulers are brought as cases to rule on the wild one beings. So it become inevitable to bring the, you can say, the dictator kind of rulers in, and in this way different conflicts are coming into being and needing, you can say, highly experienced politician. Even at 70, 80, they come to know how their societies and their complexes comprehensively to be understood. If all the world is, you can say, facilitated with the quality education, economic independence, and family making, so the whole world will be at the facilitated state and prosperous state, and you can say fully, you can say, bloomed and as far as you can say peaceful minded. So this brain will not be needing highly experienced and colonial legacy based masters to rule on them. So theory suggests that many of the world's wars, crimes, social tensions, and forms of exploitation can be traced to systems that reward privilege rather than competence. So in this way, people of higher, you can say, kinds cannot be brought into action. So the theory suggests that many of the world's wars, crimes, social tensions, and forms of exploitation can be traced to systems that reward privilege rather than competence. In this way, competency cannot be kept intact. Why? Because while the system of the world are working through pick and drop, favorism and favoritism, so that would not be, you can say, the world is increasing population in an unchecked way. So the idea of pick and drop could be to some extent justified, but if the alternate route to end this all pick and drop based changes. If we expect, we cannot, you can say, make the world reasonable. So the theory suggests that wars, crimes, social tensions, forms of exploitation are entirely based on privilege, not on competency. So when uh, education and syllabus, rather education and independent economy is given the fundamental and basic human right and forced to follow this path, then there would be no making of police after police, army after army, and there would be no heavy cases present in the courts, but only police and legal system would be necessary for not armies to fight against each other, because it would be a global setup. It would not be in few hands, rather in all of the human beings' hands, that their behaviors and their modes of, you can say, patterning would be the driving force of their regulations. Throughout history, societies have struggled with the challenge of balancing power and opportunity. Undoubtedly, the journey of human race has ever never been easy and leveled one. And the humanity went through the toughest challenges, and boulders were kept and placed on their way to the present age to reach. And we cannot dismantle the peace of the world through waging such wars that could wrap up all the, you can say, the educational and institutional setups and turn the world into stone age, stone state. It's not a justice. World authorities need to sit together and think of all of the humanities. Throughout history, societies have struggled with the challenge of balancing power and opportunity. How power and opportunity could meet each other in a friendly way, not in a holistic way, rather in a sabotaging and opposing each other. Rather, power and opportunity should go side by side, generation after generations. Uh, you can say leaders in business class and political class, both to be created and backed up by some placement and displacement. So one could not be the source of ruling and fooling of the others. So feudal systems concentrated authority in hereditary elites. Feudal system mean the agricultural and you can say crops based and lands based kind of productions based source of societies or mode of societies. The concentrated authority in hereditary elites. Surely landowners give their, you can say, make their marriages based on their inherited legacies and interests. Throughout history, societies have struggled with the challenge of balancing power and opportunity. Feudal system concentrated authority in hereditary elites. Colonial systems also subordinated entire populations to foreign interest. So, before the colonial masters coming into the lands of the Asian and African, and they came here and deprived the local masters and people from their lands, and then they handed such lands into those ones which were near and dear ones to them. Therefrom, you can say aristocratic and planted classes came into existence. So colonial system subordinated entire populations to foreign interest. They came from foreign lands, they took the lands from the local masters or the local families and tribes and people, as they were of the opinion that they had no sense how to use the lands and its treasures and brains and lands of the same lands areas. That's why they came and they subordinated, and later planted classes become the national masters of the international master, mean colonial masters, and they are still coming as liberal masters just to control others through making them obscene and nude and characterless and such and such. So even modern capitalist systems, while generating enormous wealth, have often allowed economic power to become concentrated within limited segments of society. They have the wealth, they keep it in the you can say banks, but in the names of some particular classes and the professions. For example, sports have also become one of the leading industry of making some players to be the most leading players and world best players, and the enormity of the wealth and its sources are given to them, but they they are not the players, rather they are the pockets of the capitalist system and societies. So they created sports and its players as pockets of the capitalist system, and their wealth in the name of some players' names are present in the you can say in the banks, but that wealth and its resources are all you can say becoming the source of their more wealth to generate. So no powerful players are being created from Asian and African, you can say, countries. If Indians are rising from Asian belt of life in cricket, the Western interest is also there, that they are from Aryan tribe, and you can say the Greeks backing, and they represent to white race, though due to hot atmospheric you can say conditions, their colors are brown or black, but by lineage they are Jews and Aryan tribe and Greeks once before the Romans conquering, they came and inhabited here. Some are of the opinion that they are the legacy of the 12th or 12th lost, you can say tribe. But after all, sports is not a success case in Asian and African. All sports, the result-oriented sports and pocket creating through, you can say, players, but their wealth is kept in the Western banks. So even modern capitalist systems, while generating enormous wealth, have often allowed economic power to become concentrated within limited segments of society. As a result, social mobility remains restricted for many individuals despite formal commitments to equality and democracy. As a result, social mobility remains restricted for many individuals despite formal commitments to equality and democracy. Though in Asian African countries, as a philosophy of life and education, they, they favor equality and democracy as a slogan of the human charters, but as far as their right to rise and shine is, that is not equal for all ones. Many individuals, despite formal commitments to equality and democracy, they are restricted not to rise and you can say shine. The theory of one world, one brain argues that genuine progress requires a deliberate effort to dismantle barriers that prevent talented individuals from contributing fully to society. The theory of one world, one brain argues that genuine progress requires a deliberate effort. Now, if we are to work on generation making and future making, or to save the future of the humanity and to turn it into a peace instinct from war instinct and egoistic and enemies kind of beings to well-defined and refined ones, we would have to turn it into a better state of the world affairs. The theory of one world, one brain argues that genuine progress requires a deliberate effort to dismantle barriers. Now we need to mobilize civil society, human rights activists, and intellectuals around the world as the ambassadors and viceroys of the Prophet's teachings and preachings to stand, to rise, and make deliberate effort to dismantle. Dismantle means break the barriers, push and pull the barriers to break them, so that that is the main hurdle. Talented individuals are not becoming able to contribute to the rest of the world or to the rest of the society or to nation making and state to be helped out. So until common class is not to be valued and barriers are not to be set aside from their way, they would not be able to bring democracy and education as a solution to the all common classes. So common classes is the only solution through education, and democracy need to be brought into action. And for this, you can say common classes, educated classes, which are becoming at their individual efforts, becoming the source of all ideas to be generated. Education occupies a central position within this theoretical framework. Education occupies a central position within this theoretical framework. As I do say, one word, one brain. One brain mean education, independent economy, and right to decision making, mean family making, and then rest of the all life become organized and profitable, morally and socially. The education is the driving, you can say, source of all the society and the individual. No individual without education, no education without any individual being educated. So they are interdependent and inevitable for each other. Education occupies a central position within this theoretical framework. Though this looks to be a theoretical framework, but it's a highly political and practical and very actionable. So all the human minds have traveled, and this is the end of the all theories, that education need to be given to the all. If we say nations are to be constructed through religion and cultures and tribal mindsets and nation states and this and that, that's all rule of fool and world of fools. Rather, the middle and lower classes, educated classes, which is getting education on its individual space and expense, they have the right to protest and rise against the odds present on their way, and needs to be least start speaking on equality of humanity. The theory regards education as the most powerful instrument for human empowerment and social transformation. So, if the colonial masters came here to plant their required classes and loved one, you can say, local masters, national masters. So now the rest ones need to protest against the local national masters and international master, mean colonial masters, that they have the resources but they are not, you can say, giving to the people in an organized way. So population check is necessary, because this is necessary to create a standard life for human empowerment and social transformation. Education is not merely a means of acquiring knowledge. It is just not getting knowledge as information, that this is idea, this is idea, this idea, that idea, this information, that information. So it's not a rat race or just a race of words and information and dissemination of information, but not making it a source of, you can say, uh, economy generation. It is a process through which individuals develop critical thinking, creativity, moral judgment, social responsibility, and economic capability. Mean, okay, education, which is the driving source and force of the world and its future to be saved, transferring into a peaceful planet. Education is not merely a means of acquiring knowledge. Knowledge means as information, uh, and just information. Rather, this information needs to be based on understanding and skill and source of communication and transportation and making of more and more institution as children are coming more and more to the world. So according to the size of the population, the more and more institution and education institution need to be made out. It is a process through which individuals develop critical thinking, creativity, moral judgment, and social responsibility and economic capability. But these all things could only be made possible when future are in dreams clear. If in dreams futures are not clear, mean a child who is getting education today is not clear vision about future, that his future is saved and will reach to us and will turn to a success case, that would all just beating heads against the wall or striking head against the wall. So critical thinking, creativity, moral judgment, social responsibility, and economic capability could only come into limelight and its applicability when futures are made skewed and the ongoing generation is not battling against the narrow, you can say, sources. A well-designed educational system enables individuals to understand their rights and responsibilities while equipping them with the skills needed to participate effectively in modern society. So modern societies are linked with education, jobs, and business activities and facilitation and making of the environment positive, ready for them to rise and shine. The theory argues that existing educational systems often reproduce social inequalities rather than eliminate them. So the present education system of elite class to be only maintained and contained for power, it would not be helping. So in this way, inequalities are becoming more and more rather to eliminate them. So intention is to keep the elite and colonial masters, national masters, sons and daughters are to be equipped with skill and right to rule and fool the common class. Rather, it should end and eliminate the barriers and such classes, not to wipe out, rather to rule out and bring into common class also. Wealthier communities generally have access to better schools, more qualified teachers, advanced technologies, and broader opportunities. Surely, when they are equipped with the right to rise and shine, everything is leveled to them, they will just have the dream clear that they are to become the ruler of the world, and they will surely get education and will rise to executive level at bureaucracy, judiciary, military, business class, political class, even to Piri Muridi and Mullaiyat, all they become the source of rulership. Poorer communities, by contrast, frequently suffer from inadequate infrastructure, limited resources, and lower educational outcomes. In this way, the lower classes are just shown in loitering state, in vagabond state, in a just loafer state, kind of, when they are not given proper, you can say, education from proper institutions, and futures are not saved. They turned into loafer and vagabond and barren and deserted and directionless and objectless, mean purposeless, aimless, and there would be visionless. So consequently, educational inequality contributes directly to economic inequality. Surely, when education is not at standard level, economy would not be there to end inequality and social exclusion. So we are to bring people to inclusion, not to exclusion, due to lack of education and standard economic independence. To address this challenge, One World, One Brain advocates the development of a globally accessible educational framework that incorporates the latest methods of learning, scientific knowledge, technological literacy, entrepreneurial skills, and ethical values. So, ethics will be there when there will be education, democracy, and idea of peace and a society free from domestic violence, where there would be no husband depending on wife or wife depending on husband as far as education and independent economy is concerned. So there should be no dependent as far as economy is concerned. No wife to be dependent at husband and no husband to be dependent at wife. Even no children to be dependent at their parents. Other than they got births at their family level, they should be you can say, the part of the whole of the human community. Such a framework would not seek to eliminate national educational systems or cultural traditions. Surely, when contexts and relationships are based on religion and culture, would dismantle the broader approach towards widening of the societies into vision and reflection. Rather, it would establish a common foundation of knowledge and skills available to all citizens of the world. This common syllabus would emphasize critical thinking, innovation, cooperation, problem solving, digital literacy, environmental awareness, and global citizenship. Students would learn not only how to earn a living but also how to contribute positively to societies. So they should not only left behind to run after the jobs and business opportunities, particularly running after jobs. Rather, they should be made prosperous and peaceful at mind through education so that they could think of humanity and broader outlook. So, the way the elite classes are free minded, free thinker, and free helping beings for each other, not for other common and middle and lower classes. Rather, they become helping hands to each other to maintain themselves as for their survival. Uh, in the same way, if the unified education system is given to the rest of the world, students would learn not only how to earn a living but also how to contribute positively to society. Then they could give positive output to the society. If they are stuck in health and wealth lacking ways, how they will think of others when they are thinking of all time of their own, you can say things behind. By providing equal educational opportunities, humanity could unlock vast reservoirs of talent currently suppressed by poverty and inequality. Undoubtedly, uh, when equal educational opportunities will be given, humanity will unlock all those reservoirs of talent which were from times of immemorial in state of locked uh, by the poverty and inequality. You can say poverty and inequalities were such, you can say, gates which were locked forever, and then the keys came as democracy and education to unlock the gates of poverty and inequality, which were rusted ones. Next point. Sports constitutes the second major pillar of the one world, one brain theory. While education develops intellectual capacities, sports cultivate physical health, discipline, teamwork, leadership, perseverance, and mutual respect. As I have uh, given the central idea to one world, one brain, human empowerment through sports and education. Mean we could take start from sports from African countries to get them attached with all format of sports just to equip them and make ways leveled to give them wealth and fill their accounts or pockets so that they could least run and manage their family matters. Sports have historically served as powerful Sports have historically served as powerful instruments for social integration, bringing together individuals from different backgrounds in pursuit of common goals. Athletic competition transcends linguistic, cultural, religious, and political differences, creating opportunities for cooperation and understanding. Mean to say, all format of sports and all segments of societies, half of the population could be attached to sports, and half of the rather 20 to 25% of the world population could be attached to sports for source of uh, earning. Whosoever is to reach at the international level, all will depending on hard work and you can say consistent efforts. The theory emphasizes that sports can play a particularly significant role in empowering youth. So, youth and sports and energy are three ingredients of sports world. Millions of young people around the world face unemployment, social exclusion, crime, substance abuse, and political marginalization. So it is injustice and exploitation of young blood and young energetic beings beyond gender differences to be brought into economic generation. Uh, and sports should be made a source of economy to generate and many of the young girls and guys could be brought out of social exclusion, criminal world, underworld, terrorism, communism, terror, and and you can say substance abuse, drug trafficking, and genocide, and you can say soldiership. All are young ones as victim ones, and political marginalization. They need to be empowered. Participation in sports provides constructive alternatives by promoting confidence, discipline, resilience, and community engagement. So, participation in sports provides constructive alternatives by promoting confidence, discipline, resilience, and community engagement. In this way, such and such, you can say, qualities come into human beings. Sports also encourage merit-based recognition. Surely, a player is seen by all ones, by the onlookers or the audience and spectators. So merit could be judged through the eyes of the common class and spectators and spectacles present at there. And rest all whosoever are in politics, in business, in bureaucracy, in judiciary, in business class, or in any class, might there would be no merit and no one can trace them out who is at uh, merit or meritless sitting at the key post of the society and the institution. It could come through late ways and delayed ways, but player is at the ground and could be seen through you can say uh, through you can say education and sports. So sports person you can say player is open-ended, could be seen and could be recognized with wide open eyes as onlooker because spectators are also sensibles and in the largest session if there are not player, all ones are not player but largely are players not by physique but by sense and they understand and could judge the very capability and sports is the best way to come into economy source as success depends primarily on performance effort and skill rather than social status. So a paralyzed and lapsy kind of players cannot be acknowledged. Player is player, so it's shown through results and performance. Consequently, sports can help cultivate a culture of fairness and equal opportunity in the world. One World, One Brain proposes integrating sports and education into a unified strategy for human development. As I have largely discussed, what's the education and sports role in bringing the society out of chaos particularly in the present world, to let them join the modes of economy and come out of terrorism and tribalism and extremism and underworld. Educational institutions should not focus exclusively on academic achievement but should also foster physical development, character formation, and social responsibility. Through combined investment in sports and education, societies can produce healthier, more capable, and more engaged citizens. Another important dimension of the theory concerns youth empowerment. Young people constitute the largest demographic group in many countries, particularly in Asia and Africa. Yet they often remain underrepresented in political institutions, economic decision making processes, and leadership positions. They are just getting education and certification, but no role and right to rise and shine as a leader is given to them. They are just vote caster, and if they are in business class, they are managers. They are not the leaders. Leaders are those who have the social sense and welfare sense, and then they know the problems and the pitfalls of the societies, not how business investment is made and business challenges are there. Such leadership skill is just managerial skill, not human beings based. This exclusion limits innovation, reduces social dynamism, and contributes to political disengagement. The theory argues that meaningful progress requires the active participation of youth in governance, policy making, and social development. So, when we will focus education, democracy, and youth as a way forward to peace, bring in the world, then we will set the priorities. So world authorities will set the priorities that education, democracy, and youth, these are the three top priorities and the ingredients of societies to be integrated through deliberate efforts and through forceful backing behind the all how state machinery does work or need to work. The theory argues that meaningful progress requires the active participation of youth in governance, policy making, and social development. Surely, when colonial masters and national masters will be displaced by the young ones, you can say, cases out of all the executive seats, either by merit or by displacing them through mobilizing of the world you can say, civil society, human rights activists, and intellectuals to write and promote and produce literature and philosophies now to give on well-directed way, not to point out poverty and write about the exploitation, rather come out and become the source of such movement which is to end as a whole injustice and exploitation done to the humanity. Theory argues that meaningful progress requires the active participation of youth in governance. Youth need to be brought into political and business groups, and particularly at decision making and governance level and social development. So, youth and education and democracy policy is very necessary. Youth empowerment should extend beyond symbolic representation. They should not be just the vote caster and said to be in speeches that youth is the future of the nation, but youth is always kept in future in form of future as in form of, you can say, uh, dream, not in reality. So it is high time to uh, bring the youth out of speeches and future of mere future of the nation. Rather, they need to be bring into the present state of the affairs. They need to be brought in the field in active politics to give result. And their 80% seat quota should be first made at parliament floors, and all the senior, you can say, politician need to be made their assistant, rather you to be made assistant to the, you can say, the senior politician coming from colonial master. Rather, colonial masters need to be displaced by the youth to be empowered and assigned with the ministries of different, you can say, institutions of the states to control and give governance. Rather, they need to be assisted by the colonial masters. They should made be assistant. If they are not paying full assistant and helping to the colonial master, to the young leaders, then they need to be replaced with some other mechanism to be brought into action. It should involve genuine opportunities for leadership, entrepreneurship, public service, and civic engagement. Mean to say, youth and education, democracy need to be bring into diplomacy and art of connection. Diplomacy mean to art of communication and transportation of ideas on meritorious grounds. Educational institutions, political parties, business organizations, and civil society groups should create pathways through which young people can contribute their ideas and talents. Surely, media and other modes of instruction and, you can say, construction of the societies are to be made workable. How to youth is to be brought forward and brought into power. By empowering youth, societies can harness creativity. By empowering youth, societies can harness creativity and energy that might otherwise remain underutilized. By empowering youth, societies can harness creativity and energy. Surely, when youth will have a clear cut future, surely the energy and creativity will be at the flux of the, you can say, blood and energy floods. Gates will open and youth will erupt into actionable and result-oriented destinations. The theory pays special attention to the conditions of middle and lower income populations around the world. So, the theory of integration as to how middle and lower classes, countries, continents of Asia and Africa are to be brought into the level of elite classes around the world is the sole objective of my giving up this, you can say, ideology. These groups often constitute the majority of national populations, yet receive a disproportionately small share of economic and political benefits. One World, One Brain seeks to integrate these populations into global systems of learning, earning, and participation. That's the greatest idea of ever given. Integration does not mean cultural assimilation or the abandonment of local identities. Rather, it means ensuring that individuals have access to opportunities regardless of where they were born or the circumstances into which they were born. Where there Religion and cultures were made the source of connection and understanding and family making, marriages to exchange, and this way legacies were created that were all making hurdle to the broader outlooks to be brought into the world. Rather, here opportunities, regardless of where they got birth and what were the circumstances, rather states as a sports system would be there, not as a family sports system and community based. That is, sometime clashing and jealousies are being created within communities. The theory identifies Asia and Africa as regions of particular strategic importance. These continents contain much of the world's population and a significant proportion of its youth. Because youth is ignored here in Asia and Africa, and colonial masters throw national masters at key areas of judiciary, bureaucracy, military, business class, political class, sainthood, mean Piri Muridi, and Mullayat is as fundamentalist terrorists and you can say extremists, when they are not given equal right to rise and shine through education and certification and economy as institution, then they are left behind in the race of development. They also face substantial challenges related to poverty, education, infrastructure, governance, and economic development. At the same time, they possess enormous human potential. By investing in education, technology, entrepreneurship, and institutional reform, these regions could become major contributors to global prosperity. Particularly Asia and Africa needs to be integrated, which are left behind cases in the planting of the classes by the masters through colonial masters through local masters or national masters. One World, One Brain therefore advocates targeted efforts to accelerate educational and economic developments in Asia and Africa while fostering stronger connections between these regions and the rest of the world. So the idea continues. Economic empowerment represents another core component of the theory. Traditional approaches to economic development often focus on aggregate growth indicators such as gross domestic product. While economic growth is important, it does not automatically translate into broad-based prosperity. Growth can coexist with inequality, exclusion, and social fragmentation. Therefore, One World, One Brain emphasizes inclusive development that expands opportunity for all citizens. As far as you can say the GDP's ways are concerned, the indicators are shown what industry is you can say producing. You can say much of the local you can say sale and purchase is not counted in the GDP. As the Englishes came in India, the local sales products were in enormous state and GDP was at 16, and when Britishers left behind subcontinent in divided state in India and Pakistan, so gross GDP was 4%. And why? When they came it was 16, and now when they left it was 4. The standards have been set on industrial you can say production, what your industry produces and exported, and money is exchanged that is the basis of the GDP. So that was not the whole sumness of the economy, what a nation or a country or state generates. While economic growth is important, it does not automatically translate into broad-based prosperity. Growth can coexist with inequality, exclusion. Many of the people are loitering in the world, and their efforts, as you can say, imply ship as minor ones having not been, you can say, included. What are the standard products and sold and return comes to the state, that is accumulated wealth is shown in the accounts. And social fragmentation. So people are in fragmented states and they have no what their efforts and struggles are going on. Their efforts and struggles are not counted because they are poor and they are just running after their bellies and stomachs to be filled. They are not counted as standard beings, human beings, as dignified beings. Standard beings, human beings, are human privileged societies. People are only those ones who get quality education, certification, and then become the part of standard income or business relations. So in this way, the people are in fragmented state and are in exclusion, not in inclusion. Inclusion standards are very high. That quality education, which largely present in Asian and African countries with private sector. So you can say medical field and education field are humanitarian field, but these two fields are becoming the one of the leading industries of the present world. Therefore, one world, one brand emphasizes inclusive development that expands opportunities for all citizens. It means the system gross domestic product should not only be counted what industry is producing, but as a whole human beings' efforts should be counted as humanitarian efforts, least if they are not being fed by, being fed by or provided by the state through progressive and you can say material and standard sources. Their efforts should not be ignored. So they are not taken as human beings. They are said to be that they are away from progressiveness and prosperity because they are not getting education and quality education, which is industrial education, capitalist education, and they have no part of the institution which is considered to be the source of the development. So they are taken as and kept as marginal level, that they are just labor, they are worker, they are just living for stomach and bellies to be filled, and they are hungry and they are just given some pennies to live and lead their lives because according to Darwin theory, it is the survival of the fittest. Those species which become unable to adopt the changes and change according to the changes coming on the world, that would not be the human or whatever the species. So according to Darwin theory, the same formula has been applied on human beings, that from the transformation and transition which came from agricultural to industrial, they have been left behind and they are, you can say, in state of adoration, that they have no right to live, or they are in state of elimination. But they are not in state of elimination. Big portion of the world population is in poor classes, poor people, which are shoulder to their you can say they are shelter and fuel to their all capitalist workership and feudalist, communist, socialist, feudalist government's labor class. So their efforts are just taken as granted, as meaningless, as fruitless for themselves, but for them, those who are getting their services, they are a source and tool too, but they think that they are there uh, to help them, mean the capitalists, for just for source of bread and butter. So this is injustice and this is exploitative thinking patterning. So they are not taken as human. As animals are yoked, in the same way, humans are yoked in industries, in factories, as workers, as in the fields, as farmers are, as you can say peasants are, as you can say labor class. So they are yoked as non-human beings, as animals. They think as animals are fed, mean provided with food, in the same way poor classes are given food. Both are, you can say, there to serve the royal class or elite class or rural class. But now the table is turning. Education is coming as awareness and as explosive idea in the middle and lower classes, and they are going to revolt against the existing system that our efforts are not, you can say, entertained. Our efforts are not attended. Our efforts are not, you can say, given value. Though they are running the all, you can say, all capitalistic and socialistic societies and states, but they have no value. Socialist and communist states are also controlling the production, and capitalist, though give the right to investment, but the economy and the wealth, major portions of the wealth are aligned with the cruel and oppressive and capitalist forces. So such as gross domestic product is concerned, people are taken as, you can say, hunger cases, and the formula of Darwin theory is applied on them, that they could not adapt with, they could not change according to the changes which were coming. Why they could not change? Because they have been breeding more and more children, and then they could not pace up with the education. So if poor people are to change by themselves, then they are to breed less children. But on the other hand, theory one world, one brain needs a worldwide, one of the leading world movement on war on exploitation. War on terrorism and extremism was the case of the world order 30s. Now it's the human societies, social history is now to be constructed onwards. Through mobilizing civil society, human rights experts, and intellectuals around the world, that they are to come forward and they are to give counterproductive to the existing system and to bring them out of the rulership and displace the colonial masters and local masters, national masters, and place the young ones, if they are trained enough to, and some mechanics are made to back them. While economic growth is important, it does not automatically translate into broad-based prosperity. So, inclusive development requires access to education, healthcare, finance, technology, and markets. It also requires institutions that protect prosperity, property rights, enforce contracts, combat corruption, and ensure equal treatment under the law. economic system should reward innovation, productivity, and ethical behavior rather than inherited privilege or political connection. By creating conditions in which individuals can succeed based on merit and efforts, societies can achieve more sustainable and equitable development. The theory also the theory also addresses the role of religion and politics in human development. It acknowledges that religion and politics have historically shaped societies and influenced human behavior. Undoubtedly, religion, which came from the prophets just to preach and make life after death a livable uh, life and justified ones. But the politics came through the other administrative and kingly systems. But finally, they shaped societies through justice to provide. Shaped societies and influence human behavior. However, it argues that their primary purpose should be character building onward after one by one theories is brought into action. That primary purpose should be character building, social harmony, justice, and public service. Mean religious people's duty is to purify the human being's heart and lessen the humanity from greed and lust. And political forces' role is to facilitate the human beings. Political is not to create legacies first and then facilitation. No. Political forces need to facilitate first and last. No legacy, because after every 25 years, new generation is to come into power with education and skill and technically and tactically and mentally and physically to be made sound out, then to be brought into power. When religion or politics become a vehicle for division, exclusion or exploitation, it departs from its constructive role. So religion and political role is to purify the human hearts and facilitate with the material resources through political administration. But when both religion and political figures, which role is to facilitate and purify, become the source of corruption instead of purity, purify too, and political either to facilitation, they become source of legacy. First create, fill up your pockets, and then to make power on. It departs from its constructive role. One World, One Brand does not advocate the elimination of religious or political differences. Instead, it encourages all religious and political traditions to focus on shared ethical principles such as honesty, compassion, fairness, responsibility, and respect for human dignity. So, religion and politics here are interdependent and inevitable for each other. Religious people is to preach the prophets' teachings, and practices are to be promoted with the sense of less and less greed and lust for material sources. But political sources and administration, state administration role is to facilitation. Material sources, science and education and politician role is to facilitate through material sources, mean education, economy, institution making, and this and that. Technical knowledge and economic resources alone cannot guarantee human progress. Without ethical principles, scientific and economic advancement can be used for destructive purpose. Merely, it is not advocating the idea that education based on latest mode of learning and earning and making people robot and emotionless. No. There would be the backing of religious people's preaching that these material sources are just there to facilitate them. and educate them, but not to uh, make them away from moral, you can say, standings. Therefore, educational systems should incorporate moral development alongside intellectual development. Moral development means they are to be at less and less stage of greed and you can say hunger, rather greed and lust. Surely, when everyone is given equal opportunity, then there would be no greed and you can say lust. So when some people are empowered highly and they become the custodian of all the resources, then greed and lust automatically is left for the deprived ones. So they could only dream of, but they cannot uh, come into its materiality. Moral development alongside intellectual development. Intellectual means latest mode of learning and earning. Moral development means uh, they are to be uh, fair beings, honest beings. Individuals should be encouraged to cultivate integrity, accountability, empathy, and social responsibility. So, human beings will be the drivers of the human societies. Ethical leadership is particularly important in public institutions where decisions affect the lives of millions of people. So, leadership should be based on ethical and moral standards. They should have love and empathy and compassion and toleration for all ones. One World, One Brain also challenges conventional notions of power. Traditional systems often concentrate power within political elites, economic oligarchies, or hereditary classes. Such concentrations of power can undermine accountability and limit social mobility. The theory advocates a more distributed model of empowerment in which knowledge, skills, and opportunities are broadly shared. Information technology provides unprecedented opportunities to democratize access to knowledge and participation. Everyone has equal right to information and participation into the societies to serve at the larger and broader way. Digital platform can connect individuals across national boundaries, facilitate learning, and support collaborative problem solving. All human beings become a human society and family. Technology, however, should be viewed as a tool rather than an end in itself. The ultimate tool in itself means those who have technology and internet and such sources, they have only right to rise and shine. Rather, it should be made source to all to progress. The ultimate objective is human development. Technological innovation should serve educational advancement, economic inclusion, healthcare, improvement in environmental sustainability, and social cohesion. The theory therefore calls for responsibility technological development guided by human values and ethical consideration. Global integration forms another major theme of the One World, One Brain framework. The modern world is increasingly interconnected. Economic activities, environmental challenges, public health issues, migration flows, and technological innovation frequently transcend national boundaries. Problems such as climate change, pandemics, poverty, and inequality cannot be solved by individual countries acting alone. Effective solutions require international cooperation and shared responsibility. Particularly, migration is due to wars and due to Western interests that migrant people into Europe become uh, cheap labor, source of a cheap labor. Another ones you can say why people become immigrants when there would be one world, one brain. all the countries, all the citizens would remain in the same orbit. And for rare cases, for tourist point of view, for just to go around the world as to get know and training and skilling, rather all of the human brain will be the same. For example, if Asian African are deprived ones, for opportunity's sake, they become immigrants and they become part of the Western world. So Western world should not be as a parasitic and sucking of the bloods of the human beings, and man force and all soldiers and poor classes and working classes are to be taken as immigrants into Western countries, as well as man force as for wars when are to be waged in Asia and Africa. Man force are to be taken from here. So when one world, one brain would be there, no wars, no immigration, no you can say refugees case, kind of you can say migration issues will be there. However, global integration should not imply cultural uniformity. Diversity is one of humanity's greatest strengths. People could live at their uh, likable colors and interests, aesthetic sense, with different beauties. Different cultures, languages, traditions, and belief systems contribute to the richness of human civilization. One World, One Brand seeks to preserve this diversity while promoting a common commitment to human dignity, equal opportunity, and social justice. This would be the ultimate end of the all, you can say, pursuits which are to be started through One World, One Brand. The goal is not to erase differences, but to ensure that differences do not become sources of discrimination or conflict. They should not be role as taken. Terry envisions the creation of a global culture of merit. In such a culture, individuals would be encouraged to develop their talents and contribute to society according to their abilities. Success would be determined by achievement and character rather than inherited status. Institutions would be designed to identify and support talent whenever it exists. This approach would maximize human potential and reducing social resentment and inequality. An important aspect of the theory concerns governance. Effective governance requires competent institutions, transparent decision making, and public accountability. Corruption, nepotism, and favoritism undermine public trust and weaken social cohesion. One World, One Brain advocates reform that strengthen merit-based recruitment, professional administration, judicial independence, and democratic participation. Public institutions should serve citizens rather than special interests. The judiciary, bureaucracy, military, business sector, and political leadership all play crucial roles in shaping societies, undoubtedly. The theory proposes that these sectors should be populated by individuals selected primarily on the basis of competence, integrity, and public commitment. Educational and professional systems should therefore be designed to identify and develop talented individuals from all segments of society, not from favoritism and particular pick and drop system. This approach would help replace systems of inherited privilege with systems based on merit and service. Gender equality represents another significant concern. The theory recognizes that women and girls continue to face barriers in many societies. These barriers limit educational attainment, economic participation, political representation, and personal freedom. One World, One Brain supports equal opportunities for all individuals, regardless of gender. Empowering women is not only a matter of justice but also a practical necessity for social and economic development and violence to end in the world. Societies cannot achieve their full potential while excluding half of their population from meaningful participation. The theory also addresses the psychological dimensions of human development. Poverty is not merely an economic condition, it often affects confidence, aspirations, and perceptions of possibility. Individuals who grow up in environments characterized by deprivation may internalize limitations that resist their ambitions. Therefore, empowerment must involve psychological transformation as well as material improvement. Education, sports, mentorship, and positive social environments can help individuals develop confidence and resilience. Environmental sustainability constitutes an increasingly important dimension of global development. Human progress cannot be sustained if natural ecosystems are destroyed or depleted. One World, One Brain therefore supports educational programs that promote environmental awareness and responsible stewardship of natural resources. Future generations should inherit a planet capable of supporting healthy and prosperous lives. The theory emphasis on a common global syllabus deserves further consideration. A common syllabus does not imply identical curricula everywhere. Rather, it involves establishing universal competencies and values that all students should acquire. These competencies include literacy, numeracy, scientific reasoning, digital literacy, critical thinking, communication skills, ethical awareness, and civic responsibility. By ensuring that all individuals possess these foundational capacities, humanity can create a more equitable and productive global society. Research and innovation are also essential components of the One World, One Brain vision. Knowledge economies increasingly depend upon creativity and scientific advancement. Educational systems should encourage curiosity, experimentation, and independent thinking. Universities and research institutions should collaborate internationally to address shared challenges. Knowledge should be viewed as global resources whose benefits extend beyond national borders. Ultimately, One World, One Brain is a theory of human potential. It begins with the assumption that talent is distributed widely throughout humanity, but opportunities are not. Millions of capable individuals remain excluded from meaningful participation because of poverty, discrimination, inadequate education, political marginalization, or social barriers. By addressing these obstacles, humanity can unlock enormous humanity can unlock enormous reserves of creativity, productivity, and leadership. The theory does not claim that social problems can be solved instantly or that human differences can be eliminated. Rather, it offers a long term framework for creating more inclusive and equitable societies. It emphasizes on sports, education, youth empowerment, meritocracy, ethical leadership, and global cooperation, provides a comprehensive vision of development that extends beyond purely economic considerations. In conclusion, One World, One Brain presents a normative and practical framework for addressing some of the most persistent challenges facing humanity. It argues that lasting progress depends upon empowering individuals through education and sports, promoting merit over inherited privilege, expanding opportunities for youth, strengthening ethical institutions, encouraging global cooperation, and fostering a shared commitment to human dignity. The theory seeks not to replace cultural, religious, or national identities, but to create a broader sense of common humanity that transcends divisions. By integrating people through knowledge, opportunity, and mutual respect, One World, One Brain envisions a future in which every individual has the chance to contribute to society and realize his or her full potential. Such a future would represent not merely economic development but the advancement of humanity itself. So, this was the all theory as I have written and given into your knowledge. So, the theory is presented here in only two dimensions to provide an understanding of how it can be introduced to the rest of the world and it how can be implemented in its true spirit. Its purpose is to end discrimination by first bringing people around the world onto a common platform through poverty alleviation achieved by sports and education. This process leads to the attainment of three fundamental rights: the right to quality education and independent economy, and the right to family formation for all citizens of the world. Once these rights are secured, people can be integrated on the basis of their individual hard work, outlook, honesty, and abilities. An economy that is generated primarily through relationship based on religion, culture, and tribal mindsets cannot consistently promote merit and ability. It ultimately creates a legacy of families and classes that become a source of conflicts, wars, crimes, and underworld. The duty of religion and politics should be the same: character building, the creation of a society of honest people based on fair dealings, and the promotion of justice both officially and individually. The world needs a syllabus based on the latest modes and methods of learning and earning for all its citizens. The objective is not merely to improve lives or to transform economies into fixed forms, but rather to integrate humanity through one world, one brain. Particularly, attention should be given to the middle and lower classes as well as to the countries and continents of Asia and Africa, enabling them to keep pace with the West and ruling elites around the globe. This can be achieved by giving every citizen the opportunity to lead life according to his or her religion and culture, provided that such beliefs do not contain inherent class divisions or philosophies that cause injustice or exploitation within families, communities, or societies at large. One way forward is to empower youth worldwide educationally, economically, and politically. Young people should be brought to the parliamentary level to help create a common syllabus and a new generation of professionals in the judiciary, bureaucracy, military, business, and politics. This process can gradually replace colonial, feudalistic, and excessively capitalistic structures with systems based on merit, opportunity, and justice, ultimately promoting equality throughout the world beyond gender differences. So, this is the all idea as I mentioned in the opening and in the closing. In between, just I made a research and based information, and then I read that all and you can say discussed, and largely the crux of all it is present in it. So more, you can say there are 60 questions through which I will be describing and narrating the all method of instruction as to how one word, one brain could be, you can say, brought into actionable state.